Hi there. I want you to think for just one moment. Conjure this up in your mind. What do you associate with the word psychopath? Do you get an image of a wild-eyed, crazy individual who sits in his basement apartment and puts up news clippings on the wall of his various crimes as he's trying to escape from the police? I think that is something that would be very common for people to think of, the Hollywood image of the psychopath. But in reality, I just would like to challenge you for a moment to put those stereotypes on hold, just for a moment, and let's explore exactly what a psychopath is, and also why psychopathy might actually be an advantage in certain occupations. Now, you're probably thinking, what kind of advantages could a person receive if they had what psychology lists as characteristics of psychopaths? Well, first you have to examine the traits. And I did quite a bit of research when I was working on creating my first published novel, Freedom from Conscience, which is published by blackrosewriters.com. It's also available through Amazon.com. And what I chose to do was to try to create a character who really, truly shows what the traits of psychopathy are, as well as how that person would think. And essentially what it is a young girl. A lot of people think, wow, females can be psychopaths? Of course they can. Not as many as males, but about 1% of the population of females are truly psychopathic. But in her last year of high school, she is recruited into a circle of like-minded individuals, and well, they're a little bit different than you might think. They're what you call vigilante killers, or what they would consider themselves angels of death. Well, anyway, the thing is that what I found most compelling about creating this character was that I didn't want to present someone as a monster. Because psychopaths are not someone you can just spot in a crowd. Probably every day as you're going to work, or maybe even at work or at school, you encounter people that have this personality trait. My character, she will break even the most standard of taboos. That taboo that says thou shalt not kill. But she's also a confident, attractive person who is intellectually gifted, and yet she is someone who has those traits that are part of the definitions of psychopath. Now, why don't we go into what those traits really are and why they would be an advantage to a politician or also a CEO of a large corporation? What would be the advantages of this personality trait? Well, let's start off with confidence. The psychopath is generally an extremely confident person, confident in their abilities. What researchers usually agree on that work with these people is that their confidence leads them to the ability to charm people or groups. And what they learn at a young age, growing up, is that they're different. They recognize that. But what happens is as they grow up, they learn how to play a certain part. They don't have really very many feelings of true empathy or guilt, but they become a character actor. They learn what other people do and say in certain situations. And then they learn there's a certain power to that. And so they become experts at being able to charm, to be able to say the right things at the right time to get a person to behave a certain way or to believe a certain way. So is that a good trait for a politician? You be the judge of that. Would a good politician be someone who can get people to believe that they believe in what they're saying? Of course it would. Now, think about this. You look up the word manipulation, and you look up the word leadership. And you know what you're going to find? They're essentially synonymous with each other. They're the same word. Basically, what it comes down to is that person becomes, that person is a person who is able to convince an individual or a group to do that which they would not normally have done on their own. So, yes, this would be a very positive thing if you've learned how to be able to mimic the right emotions and the right actions with people. Now, you might say this is sort of a seduction. And this is a trait that psychopaths have, and often, if not, most of the time a psychopath is sexually promiscuous. Why? Because they've learned how to be. They're not the kind of person who's going to feel bad about walking up to someone and saying and doing whatever they need to do to charm that person. Now, that doesn't mean that all psychopaths are this way. The character I create for my book is someone who is not promiscuous, but it's because she feels that she's in some way apart or a different type of person. She deserves better. So she's not just going around and jumping from person to person. And there are psychopaths that are that way. The one thing I would just point out, though, is while they don't feel guilt in their relationships, or if they're trying to sell you something, they can feel disappointment. Can they feel personal shame? Not really. Not the shame that leads to guilt. They're not going to sit back and say, why did I do this? I feel so bad about myself. Because they don't have that sort of framework to work by. Now, they can feel bad if they lose, get caught and have to pay a penalty, not reach a goal. But that's the extent of it. Disappointment, not guilt. So yeah, a psychopath is a person who's an expert at being able to move you, to get you to cry on cue, to laugh, to love. They can play you like a musician plays his favorite instrument. But I will have to say this, after they give a speech, whether it's just to you or to 1 million people, they're not really feeling what they're saying. They're analyzing the moment to see how they can maybe deliver that message better and thinking about their next objective. Another trait is psychopaths generally have a grand sense of their own importance and feel they have a destiny to fulfill. That's a wonderful trait to have if you're a politician or someone who wants to achieve things in business. They're also prone to boredom. So whether in the boardroom or the legislative chamber, they really do hate tedious tasks. Fortunately, when you've reached these higher levels of leadership, you usually have people underneath you do the work for you. But when you put them in a situation where they're able to go out to campaign rallies or give a winning presentation or gain new clients, they thrive on that. They love it because when they give a presentation, they're the center of attention. And they're selling themselves as much as they're selling whatever idea or product they have. So this is why people find that they're quite enjoyable to be with. But just to warn you, heaven help you if you do something that will cause them to lose at something. Because they will try to find a way to get back. Because they do not like to accept personal responsibility. They will shift responsibility to other people. So if you're a campaign manager for a psychopath and they lose the election, they'll blame you, they'll blame their mother, they'll blame anyone, but they will not look at themselves and be critical with themselves.